I wrote a piece at the beginning of the trial in this case in January of 2010. I felt it was important to explain from a conservative perspective why I thought the way that I did, and Newsweek published it. It was a cover article. It said, "The Conservative Case for Gay Marriage." And what I tried to explain in a couple of words is that marriage is a conservative value. People who love one another want to come together in an enduring, stable relationship to become a part of the form a family, become a part of the community, become a part of our economy, and to become a part of our system and exercise freely their ability to express their love and be a part of all of us. Now, what could be more conservative than that? It's freedom of association, it's privacy, it's spirituality, and it's becoming a part of a community. That's a conservative value to me.
We have that article that we can actually take a look at. You can pull that article up now. So what do you make then of the conservative objection to gay marriage, as you say, and you say it there's this great new movie, this documentary film that's been winning these awards, and I had the documentarians here a few days ago.
The Case Against Eight.
The Case Against Eight, which is about this whole affair. And one of the things that comes up there is, I think it's you who say, like, what could be more conservative than believing in family, believing in a permanent union of two people, believing in that kind of core principle that is the foundation of modern culture, rather than wanting people to be unable to create those kinds of loving commitments with one another. So why do you think that message gets lost between when you say it and when it gets heard by the social
I think
conservatives?
it is not getting lost. The culture is changing. Conservative values are understanding the relationship. The more we think about it, the more we understand it. The more we look at it, the more we understand and appreciate this sort of thing. But part of this is people differing on what in the world conservative means. Just like you could have a zillion arguments about who's a liberal, what's a progressive, that sort of thing. There are people that we label as conservative who have strong religious convictions about the way things have always been between a man and a woman. That's it, marriage, that's the way it is, and it's a morality thing with them, as opposed to conservatives who are in favor of limited government, free enterprise, maximum personal liberty, and so forth. The libertarians, some people call them, are very supportive of what we've been saying here. So yes, there are some people that continue to believe that this is the way society ought to work, and it is wrong morally and spiritually for people to be gay and to behave that way. But I think people are, even the Catholic Church, the Pope said, who am I to decide, or words to that effect. There are changes taking place among the religious conservatives at the same time this other evolution is taking place.
I think it's worth pointing out that one of the leading conservative institutions in the country is the Cato Institute. And the Cato Institute has come out
They're a libertarian think tank.
Libertarian, conservative think tank. But they've been foursquare in favor of marriage equality. So I think the message is getting across. I think people are thinking about it. And I think you see that particularly in young people. It's always hard to change your point of view. And people who grew up in my generation grew up not really knowing people who they knew were gay or lesbian very much. The discrimination was so brutal at that point that so many people had to conceal, felt they had to conceal their sexual orientation. So people grew up not really knowing, not really integrating with people of differing sexual orientations. That hasn't been true for the last couple of decades. And so the young people who are growing up, my children, my grandchildren, are growing up in a world in which they are mystified as to why the older people have this hang-up about people of differing sexual orientations. The idea that there ought to be a prohibition on people marrying the person that they love just because they are the same sex seems as weird to them as hopefully it seems to people today that we used to prohibit people from marrying people of different races.
And since we're talking about that rift in the conservative movement, let's just take a political tangent for a moment, because I'd be interested, Ted, in your thoughts about the sort of fate of the Republican Party and what's going on in the Republican Party at the moment, and the future of where the center of gravity of the GOP is likely to be. We just saw for the first time in history the House Majority Leader losing in a primary election. We see a huge amount of energy in the sort of loosely Tea Party, fairly libertarian kind of scope of the GOP, which is very different from the old conservative hawks in the Republican Party. Do you have any prognostications about where this is all headed?
Yeah, I think that as far as respecting the rights of individuals who happen to be gay or lesbian, The Republican Party is evolving in the right way.
I think everyone in the room was crying and laughing, but everyone was crying, no question. I mean, we were all deeply, deeply moved and delighted.